It was a normal Tuesday afternoon, but nothing would ever be the same again. I was sitting in my truck parked a few blocks from Clearwater Elementary, anxiously waiting for my daughter, Lily. She's 8 years old and has a condition called muscular dystrophy, which means she needs a walker to get around. But she's one of the toughest kids I know. I always park in the same spot, just far enough for her to feel independent as she walks out of school, but close enough for me to keep an eye on her. It's what we promised each other after her mom passed away last year. The loss of her mother to cancer had been the hardest time of our lives, but we made it through. It was just the two of us now, and nothing was going to tear us apart. Lily was leaving the school, her walker moving slowly as she made her way down the sidewalk. She had a bright smile on her face, probably eager to tell me about a new art project she was excited about. But then I saw it, a black SUV parked illegally right in front of the school entrance. Inside, a woman was yelling into her phone, her face flushed with anger. I knew exactly who she was, Diane Blackwell, the president of the local neighborhood association. Everyone called her the enforcer behind her back because she was always on the lookout for rule violations, handing out fines for the smallest offenses. As Lily carefully tried to pass the SUV, her walker lightly bumped against the vehicle's bumper. It wasn't enough to cause any harm, but Diane immediately noticed. In a fury, she threw open her car door, nearly hitting Lily in the process. "What do you think you're doing?" she screamed, drawing the attention of other parents. "Do you have any idea how much this car is worth?" Lily froze. I saw her face turn pale. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to," she stammered. "You little brat," Diane shouted, stepping closer. "You scratched my car." My blood was boiling, and I pushed through the crowd of parents, moving quickly toward them. I was about 15 feet away when Diane pulled something from her purse. My heart skipped a beat. It was a gun. "Put that down," I shouted, hoping I could stop her before it was too late. A few people screamed in horror, but Diane wasn't listening. Lily tried to back away, but her walker got stuck on the edge of the sidewalk. My worst fear played out in front of me. Diane waved the gun around, pointing it at Lily. "This is a lesson for you," Diane hissed. "Maybe this will teach you some respect." Then, with a terrifying crack, the gun fired. The sound echoed across the schoolyard as Lily screamed and fell to the ground. Blood started to spread across her shirt, and her walker tipped over. I ran to her as fast as I could, dropping to my knees beside her. The wound on her shoulder was bleeding heavily. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice faint and trembling. "She shot me." Diane stood frozen, staring at the gun in her hand, as if she couldn't believe what she'd just done. Then, she dropped it and ran back to her SUV, speeding off before anyone could react. "Call 911, I yelled, trying to stop the bleeding, pressing my jacket against Lily's shoulder to slow it down. "Get her license plate number." The next few hours were a blur. Ambulance, doctors, the hospital. I held Lily's hand while they cleaned and stitched her wound, trying to stay strong for her. She barely cried, even when they had to numb the area to treat her. At the hospital, Officer Jacobs arrived and took my statement. He seemed uncomfortable, glancing over his notes. "We've already picked up Ms. Blackwell," he said, but I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "Her husband is well connected in the community. She's claiming the whole thing was an accident, that she felt threatened when your daughter bumped into her car." "Threatened?" I growled, my fist clenched. "She's 8, uses a walker. How is that threatening?" Officer Jacobs didn't say much after that. He mentioned there would be an investigation, but I knew in my gut that Diane's connections would make things difficult. Still, I held on to hope. Later that night, I sat with Lily in bed as she clutched my hand. "Is she coming back to hurt me?" she asked quietly. "No, sweetie," I replied softly, brushing her hair away. "I won't let her hurt you again." The next day, the news spread like wildfire. Diane had been released from jail without bail. Our neighborhood chat group was full of messages about it. My friend Mike came over to warn me. "Diane's telling everyone that Lily attacked her first," Mike said, his face grim. "And some people are buying it. How can anyone believe that?" I demanded, shocked. "She's been in our neighborhood for years, causing trouble. And now this?" Mike nodded, looking around to make sure no one could hear. "Her husband has a lot of influence. Plus, some people around here don't like the idea of kids like Lily being in regular classes. They think it slows everything down. My blood boiled. Lily wasn't just one of those kids. She was one of the smartest in her class. Her condition didn't define her. I was furious, feeling helpless. What was I supposed to do? You were in the military, right? Mike asked quietly. You know how to handle situations like this. Sometimes you've got to fight smart. I nodded. I'd served in the Army for 6 years before becoming a construction manager. I wasn't a sniper like people assumed, but I was well trained in tactics and weapons. Well, let's just say people like Diane have a lot of secrets, Mike said. And secrets always come out. We just need to find them. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I started digging. I found that Diane and her husband, Richard, had lived in our neighborhood for 2 decades. Richard was a bank manager, and Diane ruled the HOA with an iron fist. They had no kids, just a reputation for making enemies wherever they went. I took the next day off work and headed to the courthouse to dig through public records. What I found was shocking. Diane had been sued multiple times for harassment by former neighbors, all of which were mysteriously dropped before they went to trial. I also found financial records showing irregularities in HOA spending, big trips taken by Diane and Richard that didn't seem to align with the budget. Most damning of all, Diane had somehow gotten a gun permit approved despite being turned down twice before, shortly after Richard's bank approved a loan for the police chief's vacation home. I wasn't the only one doing my homework. The school principal called to tell me that other parents were rallying behind Lily, and the security footage from the day of the incident showed Diane pulling the gun first. The local newspaper ran a brief article about the incident, but the comments section was flooded with eyewitnesses calling out the truth. Diane's story was unraveling. A week later, Diane and Richard hosted an HOA meeting at their house, but Mike went and recorded everything. Diane spent 20 minutes complaining about the safety of the school pickup area, but it was clear that her agenda was to deflect attention for what happened with Lily. Mike's recording provided the evidence I needed to submit a formal request for transparency, and when Diane's email surfaced, they revealed months of complaints about Lily, even calling her a burden to the neighborhood. I handed my findings to Detective Laura Turner, who promised to follow through after my concerns about Officer Jacobs. 3 days later, Diane was arrested for assault, illegal firearm possession, and misuse of HOA funds. The real challenge wasn't the legal victory. It was helping Lily heal. She had nightmares and didn't want to leave the house, but with our community support, things slowly improved. Her classmates sent cards, and the teacher visited with schoolwork. Neighbors even organized a meal train. 2 months later, Diane's trial began. Her lawyer tried to paint her as a well-meaning leader, but the evidence was clear. Lily bravely testified, and the jury convicted Diane. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison. The neighborhood changed too, with new rules against harassment, and Lily slowly regained her confidence. One evening, Lily asked, "Do you think people can change?" I answered, "Some can, but good people must stand up when others are hurt." She smiled, showing her scar, my superhero mark. I hugged her, feeling hope for a better world.